Lastly, we thank all of you who came out from near and far to support the AT Children's Project for Brian. Tonight we are here to honor our little 4-year-old Brian and to work together to build awareness and find a cure for ataxia telangiectasia. Excuse me. Some of you might be wondering, what is AT? AT is a progressive neurological genetic disease. It is rare, it is fierce, and it is fatal. AT can be passed down silently through families for many years without anyone's knowledge. It occurs when 2 adults who have an ATM mutation in their DNA strand come together. AT combines the worst effects of cystic fibrosis, cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, immune deficiencies, and oftentimes cancer. What does that mean? It means that our beautiful and perfect Brian will slowly lose his ability to walk and eventually be confined to a power wheelchair. He will continue to develop ataxic muscle jerking movements throughout his body. He will continue to develop telangiectasias, or the large red veins in his eyes, and he will eventually lose his ability to read, something he loves to do. Brian's immune system will suffer and he will become susceptible to all germs around him, which may put him at such risk that he will need what is called IVIG treatments, which are 3-hour infusions once per month to keep his immune system strong. He has had to do this once, and I can assure you it is not easy. He will lose his ability to eat, and he will need a feeding tube. His voice will become slurred and difficult to understand. He will continue to struggle with controlling the saliva pooling in his mouth. While Brian's body fails, his cognition will stay intact. He will always remain smart. He will always know what's going on around him, even when it looks like he does not. As a parent, this diagnosis has crushed my heart, and that is an understatement. All of my hopes and dreams about what the future holds for Brian and our family have been smashed. I hold my picture-perfect baby, and I can't believe that our time together will eventually be cut short. I think about all that Brian will have to manage and the challenges he will face, and my heart aches. I feel a desperate need to fix it and save him, but I am helpless. He is spunky and innocent and carefree and happy. I pray that he can stay that way as long as possible. I pray for a cure. I pray for at least a treatment. I hold on to hope. We make the most of each and every day. Our goal remains smile often, laugh a lot, and make happy memories. People often ask, how is Brian doing? We always nod, smile, and say fine. I simply describe it as mountains and valleys. I don't often get into the details about how I can already see a difference in how he moves when he is running with muscle jerking arms and extra drool. I don't describe how we buy him the coolest Ninja Turtle wristbands to help him manage that drool so he isn't considered different. I don't describe how he gets terrible headaches that no Tylenol helps because they are AT headaches and are triggered by exhaustion. He can only sleep them off. I don't often describe how after a few hours or less of play, he needs a rest and has to sit and lay down to let his body recharge, even if he desperately wants to continue participating. I don't often describe how I try every trick in the book, at times including begging, to try and get him to eat something, anything to gain calories. The doctors have told us that he needs a feeding tube in his immediate future, and we're just not ready to throw in the towel yet. I don't often describe the medications he takes to try to make eating an easier event for him, stomach relaxers and antacids. He also has a special adaptive eating chair. We just desperately want him to be able to enjoy a meal. I don't often tell anyone about the knot in my throat every time I put him on the bus to school because I want to spend every second with him and I don't want to share him. How I worry about him going to school because what if someone else sends their sick child and Brian becomes ill? It takes him so much longer to recover. He fights so hard, but after 5 days of green mucus or infection, we have to start antibiotics again because his immune system just can't handle it. How simple strep throat put Brian in the emergency room once. I don't describe how it feels like we live at Columbia Hospital, always visiting Brian's team of doctors every 3 months, which of course is always on different days. How Brian has asked us while driving over the George Washington Bridge, the big city again, is Brian sick? We dodge that bullet and explain that he is so special that everyone wants to meet him. I don't describe how much I myself hate going to Columbia Hospital every 6 months so I can be checked via MRI and ultrasound for breast cancer. Being an AT carrier puts me at higher risk for that. We avoid sharing all that on a day-to-day basis, but that's what we're here today to talk about it because it's there and it's real. It's been a little over a year since the words ataxia-telangiectasia have come into our lives, and not a second goes by that I'm not hungry. My baby doesn't deserve this, nor do the roughly 500 children or less living with AT here in the United States, about 1,000 worldwide. Just this year alone, Olivia, Joe, Sam, and Pasquale have lost their battles with AT. Each piece of this news rattles us to the core. Our timeline with Brian is unknown, and with each child's passing, we are reminded of that. That's where the AT Children's Project comes into this picture. They fuel our hope. Brad Margus founded the AT Children's Project when 2 of his children were diagnosed with AT. Our ATCP angels work tirelessly to interview scientists and doctors that are interested in researching for a cure. They gather AT families, and we are able to participate in some of these studies as researchers race to help our children. The project also funds the AT Clinical Center at Johns Hopkins Hospital. There is a team of doctors there, and they are the experts on this rare disease. Every 2 to 3 years, Brian will visit them, and they will provide a free and thorough analysis of his disease progression, thanks to the AT Children's Project. We will visit them this November to discuss his current feeding needs, and they are always available to us and Brian's doctors, our medical angels. ATCP uses the funds that we've raised and donated immediately. We were personally able to participate in a non-invasive cognition study in Boston because the more they learn about the AT brain, the better. They are currently fueling a few projects. One, for example, is looking at gene therapy, where they remove a part of the mutated gene, fix it, and put it back. The body won't reject it because it comes from the body itself. They're also working hard to raise $1,500 per child to have blood work from 500 children sequenced so the scientists can examine and compare each child's mutation and genomes. They believe the secret to stopping or slowing the progression of this terrible disease lies in the DNA strand itself. That gives us hope. When Brad founded ATCP, no one knew anything about the mutated gene that caused AT. With his perseverance, they have come so far and now understand so much more about this very important problem. But AT is still tricky. It displays itself so differently within each child. We need to learn more. We need to study it more. We need more information so that we can save Brian, or at least preserve his quality of life. And that's what today is about. Today we have come here together to raise money so these scientists and doctors can more aggressively study this disease, so we can continue gaining the interest of the pharmaceutical companies. What seems like a simple golf outing, dinner, and auction today could hold the dollar that helps us pay for a cure. So for your participation today, we are grateful. Thank you for joining us today, for caring enough to come and honor Brian with us, to learn about ataxia-telangiectasia, to build awareness and help us find the cure. Brian deserves better than the cards he has been dealt. Thank you for listening, thank you for learning, and thank you for helping.